Hey guys, I just wanted to give you a brief tutorial on using what's called the TVM solver in the calculator. And the TVM solver, TVM basically stands for time value of money. TVM, V as in Victor, M. And the way we access that, and you'll see back here I have some of our formulas pulled up, and so I want to just review this real quick. So we know that the future value of a balance of P dollars invested today at an interest rate of R times 100%, because remember, interest rate is stated as a percent, but what we plug in here is just the decimal version, compounded n times a year for a total of t years. In our TVM solver, it thinks about these values as FV for future value, PV for present value. Now R is actually, we feed our calculator the full-on percent. We don't actually have to round make it a decimal when we're entering this value into our calculator. So we actually enter in the entire percent itself. So the way I wrote this is I percent divided by 100. So that means that normally we would take I percent divided by 100 and plug it in here. And then this idea of, we'll talk a little bit about this once I get the program pulled up. So to pull the program up, show on your calculator, go to the apps button, that's right here. And we want to pull up option number 1, finance. And we're going to pull up TVM Solver. And in the TVM Solver now you notice here's I percent, here's PV, here's PMT, which we'll talk about that later, FV, and then PY and CY. Okay, so let's just take a look at one question here. A bank offers you 5.2% APR compounded monthly. You invest $10,000 and plan on keeping it invested for 5 years. Calculate your balance after 5 years. Okay, so we basically know that first of all, I'm going to jump down here, I percent is 5.2, and this is what I meant, that you actually enter in the whole percent, you don't have to convert it to a decimal. Our present value is we're investing $10,000, okay, so we would think, let's just put in 10,000. And now the PMT, if you're using just the compound interest formula, we're not actually making any payments, so PMT is equal to 0 until we begin making or receiving regular periodic payments. The future value is what we want to calculate, so we're going to leave that alone for a second, and this is told that we're receiving interest compounded monthly. So see how n is would normally be 12? Well, in our calculator, CY is equal to 12. Okay, so n and CY are the same thing. The easiest way to get it to change is by coming down here and just pressing 12 into PY, and CY will automatically update. I'll just show you, if I change that number, CY jumps to 35. So I'm not going to talk about the differentiation between these two. Just know that PY and CY need to be the same number, and they need to be equal to n, the number of annual compounding periods. Okay, so how would I do this now? Well, I need to actually tell the calculator how long this investment is going to go for. So notice that capital N is really just the total number of months or days or years, or however frequently interest is compounded. So essentially what goes in for n is n times t, the total periods. So the cool thing is I'm compounding monthly, so that would be 12, and this is happening for 5 years, so we would have to multiply this by 5. So that would give us a total of 60 months. Okay, so this corresponds to the total number of months, which is 60, and now I would want to come over here and I'm ready to calculate my future value. You actually don't need to clear this out. You don't need to do anything with this in your final step when you're just calculating. And to solve for future value, we would just press alpha, enter. And you notice that the green button here corresponds to the green text above the enter button, which says solve. And if I press alpha, you get the little A box and press enter, and then you'll notice you get this little black box here that actually calculates it, and it says the future value is negative 12,962.01. Alright, so there's our answer for future value, but you might be wondering, why is it negative? Well, your calculator thinks in terms of inflows and outflows, and so realistically we should ask ourselves, at what time do we pay money and at what time do we receive money, present or the future? Well, let's look back at this. So you invest $10,000. So if you invest $10,000, that means today, at present, $10,000 is removed from your person. So that is actually a negative 10,000, right? Again, today I'm giving the bank $10,000, so for me that's a negative, that's an outflow. So in the future, I would hope for this to be positive, because now, if I press alpha and enter, the bank is actually giving me $12,962.02. So depending on whether you're receiving money today and paying later, or paying money today and receiving money later, just changes whether you use a positive or negative sign. So if I were to receive money today as a loan and pay it off later, making no payments until after 5 years, I would have a balance of $12,962 that would be due at that time. Okay, let's do just one more here. You sell a friend a car at a nominal annual rate. This is another way of saying APR, compounded monthly. Okay, so that means I'm going to change a few things here. I'm going to change my rate first. That's 5%. Compounded monthly. You sell the car for $10,000 and plan on having the person repay it in 5 years. Okay, so you sell the car for $10,000. All right, well that means do I receive money today or do I give money today? Well, I'm giving a person a $10,000 car, right? So actually this is a negative $10,000, and at some point in the future the person is going to repay it to me in 5 years. Well, it's compounded monthly, so PY, CY should both be 12. Again, these will always be the same. If it's monthly, these will both be 12. If it's daily, these will both be 365. And now I need to know, after 60 months at interest compounded monthly, what will the person owe me? So I've got everything else filled in, alpha, enter, and that person, I will receive from that person $12,833.59. Well, what if this were actually, what if you charged your friend a daily interest rate? Okay, so we would change PY, CY to 365. We assume 365 days a year just for the sake of our class. And notice again, these are both exactly the same. This is how many times you will charge your friend interest over the course of a 1-year period. Okay, well, little n is 365, so that's for 1 year, but I'm charging him for 5 years, and so that means basically this person would be charged interest 1,825 times over the full 5 years of this loan. At 5%, let's see what that person would owe me. $12,833 monthly, $12,840 if I charge this person daily. Not a big difference, but of course, I just wanted to show you how we would do this differently. What if it were compounded quarterly, 4 times a year? We change PY to 4, that automatically changes CY. And, okay, well, N is the number of times we pay interest a year, times the number of years, which would be 5. So basically, this person will be charged interest 20 times. 4 for the first year, 4 for the second, 4 for the third, 4 for the fourth, and 4 for the fifth. We calculate our future value, 12,820, which is a little bit less than daily and monthly. So that just gives us a sense of how to work in this. Right now, again, PMT should be 0, and PMT should be set to end for for the rest of the stuff that we do in this class. But for now, unless you are making regular payments, PMT should be equal to 0. And just as a caveat, don't do that yet until we talk more about how this works. So hopefully that helps give you a good intro. Yes, you can definitely use this on the quiz Thursday, and this might just be very helpful as a way. But what I will ask you to do is just to set up the formula, and then rather than to have to use your graph to go back and solve this, you can actually just do it here. So that just makes it a lot faster. So see you guys Thursday.